It's been a while since I've even put out just a basic single recording. I don't know what recording is. I guess, a non-guest, self-recording, I typically don't like that. I'm not a big fan of recording myself and talking about things. But some things have changed. So I moved into an apartment, and I don't want to say new apartment. I moved into an apartment from a house, and my previous living situation was not ideal. It worked for the time being, but I had to make a change in life, and I had to change the energies I was surrounding myself with. The reason why I'm actually jumping on tonight at 8:45 and making this video is because I got an email tonight, and it's to see the headline said, "You are a spiritual warrior," and I thought, that's weird, because obviously I have the Spirit Warrior podcast, I got the whole network thing, I got the cryptocurrency, I got all this stuff that I'm putting into like spiritual warrior, but I don't feel spiritual warrior-y. That's my new word, warrior-y. Say it 10 times fast. And so I read it, and I'll actually read it here for you guys. But so here's the email. And obviously, like I said, it says, this is the title. You are a spiritual warrior. It's from numerologists. This week's angel number is 975, an unusual number sequence, but one that packs a powerful spiritual punch. Essentially, angel number 975 is the number of the spiritual warrior, and its influence on the universe this week can be a true force for good. This intriguing number is at its full power on September 25th. That's because this date, 9/25/23, can be read as follows in numerology. And then it breaks down how you get 975 essentially from the date. To understand its resonance, we need to take a look at the individual numbers in this sequence. First of all, however, note that in its descending sequence in numerology, it is a descending sequence in numerology. Oh my God, I can't even read right now. In numerology, descending number sequences are like countdowns. We are being readied for something important when this occurs. We are being asked to be prepared to take action. The first number in the sequence is 9. This is a deeply spiritual number representing the end of a cycle. It's the number that urges us to let go, but it also represents our connection with the divine. Next up is number 7, which is an introspective number associated with spiritual growth and becoming a spiritual seeker. And finally, we have the number 5, which is the number of change. In numerology, this can symbolize change that is forced upon us, as well as change that we create ourselves or that we welcome. When you synthesize these numbers together, you get the angel number 975. We can do this through any actions that influence the collective consciousness. Basically, it says, this number asks us to take spiritual action to co-create positive change. And then we can do this through any actions that influence the collective consciousness in a positive, uplifting way. For example, you can try loving kindness meditation or prayer or spiritual healing. Individual actions also count. If you were to work on your anger issues, for example, you would not only be making yourself a better person, but also improving the collective lot, since your anger may have a ripple effect in the outside world. For this reason, angel number 975 favors any activity that is designed to bring about a positive outcome, whether for yourself or for someone else. This beautiful number reminds us that we are all spiritual warriors at heart, and that each of us has the divine power to make a difference. So then it goes into, obviously, here's your personal stuff, your number breakdown. The number 9 is, it's a deeply spiritual number representing the end of a cycle. Well, my cycle that I broke was I was living with my mother, and my mother is, our relationship was rocky, and, I'm not going to go into detail. Our relationship was rocky, but it wasn't going to get better staying in that situation. So I had to get out. And So I do have to let that go. I have to let that specific situation and that the whole thing, right? Because it wasn't just like a couple years I lived with her. It was my entire life um situation of how I got to, you know, today. And uh it's very powerful when we do that shadow work and that inside work, and we have to learn to let go. And so letting go of that cycle of my life where I thought that was, best serving me, it wasn't. So moving forward and letting go is the number 9. Also represents our connection with divine. So it has multiple meanings. And then number 7 is an introspective number. So that's more of an inside kind of looking inside yourself. And it's associated with spiritual growth, which is basically what's happening with all of us right now as we're going through a spiritual growth. Everybody is at some point. There's a lot of spiritual awakening that's happening right now, and becoming a spiritual seeker. So, I mean, I have been a spiritual seeker for years. Even as a kid, without really understanding what it meant. I would say that resonates with me. And then finally, we have the number 5, which is a number of change. Now, change obviously goes back to everything I just said about number 9, right? So it is a change that I created, and I'm working on. I do welcome it. It's just very different. So it's a different change. So this is kind of, this is really kind of leading me to taking the action to co-create positive change, right? So we are our co-creators. And since I moved into my new apartment 3 weeks ago, I have not made a single video. This is the first video that I've made. And I'm still, I was setting everything up, and I want everything perfect, and my monitors and this and all that, because I have kind of like a whole setup here. And my podcast microphone used to be on the other side because of the kind of table that I had, and I have a different desk now. And, when it comes to putting out content and creating content for, friends and users and people I've never met, and anybody that's going to find this video or find the content, I want it to be as good as possible, So going back to co-creating positive change, that's exactly what this podcast was initially created for, was to create that, that awareness and that change in mindset in others that just don't even know it's possible, I guess. And so the one thing I did want to kind of bring up is that we are being readied for something important. When this occurs, we're being asked to be prepared to take action. So there, I don't have like proof of anything. I guess that's kind of part of the channel, is it's a lot of faith-based, but when something happens like the last 2-3 years, at this point 3 years, you have a lot of people that change mindsets and they awaken to new things. And that's what happened with a lot of people I know, and friends and family and people I've met since then, and people I've grown and come to love. And, people go through these spiritual awakenings, is what you would essentially call them, right? And you have many of them throughout your life, or you have one, or, you can have more than one. It's not like you have a spiritual awakening. But the point of what I'm getting into is, during this time, this has become like a mass awakening. And there are things like our current system has to collapse in order for a new, better system to take its place, right? You have to tear down the old to build a new. And so those are the changes and the things, something important that we have to ready ourselves for. And I will do episodes on that later on, but obviously right now I'm just kind of getting into just the basics. But I wanted to remind everybody, you are a spiritual warrior. And it's not just something that is, for me only or for a select few. It's not an elite thing. It's it is something that we all go through. And so keep that in mind. Yeah, I don't have any catchy like exit lines. I probably should get something. See you guys later.